and compared to Java altogether, camel case and other stuff. Python, it's different. So to understand more of that sort of stuff, like maybe not all models would work really well. So most people choose the first one, like say Python function signature, but we also found that JSON schema is like much better placed. Like you don't generate like a code, a tool spec by the programming language or like different way, but you go and generate a JSON spec, and it's also better for complex arguments. But still, I think there are problems generating this. Say for example, even with the JSON schema or like Python function signature, there are complex parameter types. Like say there is an object, and if it gets too complicated, too related, I think it's also like a bit difficult to do that. But the JSON schema is a bit easier, and also explain why it is easier in the next slide, I guess. So like I keep on saying that preserving base model capabilities is quite helpful when you do not even full fine tuning, but then at least like if you do a bit of like specific instruction tuning, what happens is like the model loses out the existing knowledge. It only can either generate full tool calls, or it can only generate like a mix between regular chat and everything. So the model will lose the base knowledge. Like say it will not be able to do multi-turn conversations, or it will not be able to do, if you don't want the model to just behave like the normal way, but then you kind of like have the tools also generated in some cases. It's not like every time you want to get a real-time information, right? Sometimes you just want to like see what are the movies released in 2020, right? And then you just get the movies. What movies are playing near me is something that you would ask next time. So that would be a tool call. So models fail at that point of time as well. So every time there don't need to be an API call or a tool call. So preserving like the base model capabilities is very important. And one of the things that is done here is like number of like the training samples, and increasing the data quality helped a bit better, and then it was differently done. So the data also played an important role. In fact, actually what I observed with LLMs is like if you have good data in your fine tuning, if you could use tools like CleanLab or a bunch of these open source tools to properly get a good instruction fine tuning data set, that also as good as like generating good model like GPT. So most of these models have good data, and which yields good responses later point of time. So I think if you are even looking at fine tuning anytime, like make sure that you have good data set, and I think that will further take care of like any model alignment issues or other stuff as well. So yeah, I think I'll just skip over because it's taking more time. So yeah, basically serving over LoRa's, then serving over kind of like full fine tuning and a lot of those sort of details. I'll just quickly move over. So about constraint generation, I think instead of what we did with this specific model, Fire Functions V2, which is a departure from the other approach that we used in the past, is the model spec is registered like I showed in the app, like the entire spec of it, like what parameters and everything. The only tokens or the values that are generated from the font is the values for the attributes, because the structure is already given. Model performs a bit better, and if model understands that what to be generated, and then it will try to like have better context. There are still problems, like still not all the times it might fill in the exact parameters, but then it fills the value tokens most of the times, and it does better on many benchmarks like empty bench, etc. We also have a benchmark these things that I could show. So it will enforce the structure, and the generation speed is also like remarkably well, like it does really faster. So yeah, I think this is like the benchmark that I was talking about. There are a bunch of benchmarks, like I think which was really good when you compare with GPT-4o. Like a family of models that we are like training and trying to do custom tuning. There's another function calling model, like if you have heard about Hermes 2 Pro. That's also like trained. We also help with the data and other stuff from Now's research. It's also an open source, open weights model that you should definitely consider looking at it. So yeah, if you want to give it a shot on the playground with some of the existing tool calls, just scan the QR code. You could try out on playground or something. If you have more questions, I'm around and then happy to answer as well. Yeah. Yeah, this is like the model page. If you want to download it and run it, I think it's a 70B model, so it's like really heavy. But you could quantize it. I'm looking to take some time maybe on the weekend to see if I could put it on Olama so that people could, I think there are some, Llama 370B is already on the Olama, so it's 40 GB, but you could probably run, if you have a M3 Max or M3 Ultra or something, it still runs after a while, but otherwise it's a bit harder to run that level models. Yeah. Cool, yeah.
Where do you see, let's say, these function calling models a year or two from now? If you imagine beyond just more accuracy and more functions, what do you see more exciting direction that this is?
I think like I come from a search background. I used to work at Elasticsearch, and search used to be in e-commerce and a lot of these solutions. With RAG and all, it has become so exciting. It's easy to build some sort of nice experience for customers. Like rather than in old times, building a search bar itself takes a lot of effort. So now with function calling, it's not just about search, it's also gathering real-time information. Say if you have data in S3 and it's a long-term storage and it's in a specific schema, and you could use a function calling model and register a bunch of functions and start calling and the data. So you are actually what you call shortcutting the SQL or programs or databases indeed. So eventually you could build great workflows, and that will be another way. So you're also not looking to use anymore like a database, a traditional database, probably still vector store, but then I think that's where I see. And search is going to be exciting, I think. There's more enterprise search use cases and things like that. We're also building something in this area, so it's under wraps, I think, but more stuff will come. Yeah.
So you're mentioning that the data set is very important, obviously. So can you tell a little bit about how you got the data for training this? Like, is it generated? Or?
Yeah, it's a combination of synthetic plus whatever we have in the open source. To be honest, most of it is also custom made, like say for what we want to do, and it took quite some time. In fact, we started this process of what the problem is right when we released V1 in a way, and I think it took some time for us to get a good data, and we know the problems, and I think Mistral 8 cross 22B came in mixture of experts, and then that wave has passed. Then Llama 3 has come in, and then we chose Llama 3 because it was doing really well and it was really good as well. So yeah, I think it took some time, but it's a mix of synthetic and open source data plus choosing the samples and making it say for example that tool call that we were talking about, right? I think so samples which has multi-turn conversations. And also samples which is not just rut learning, right, where you put all the tool calls and it trains on it and model becomes dumber. Yeah. So yeah.
So I'd like to ask, in the demo you had a bunch of functions. Have you seen any limit when you increase the number of functions you give?
Yeah, we have seen, say for example, it does really well up to 30. Say for example, we have the autoscope we are using for more than 100 specs. We don't know how it would work, but you could definitely do it at 20 to 30, and it works really well. We have used it for multiple tools. Yeah. So I've built a small demo as well. Say if I want to find out, I think let me show that as well. So.
And can it still respond to normal questions, or it tries always to call a tool?
Yeah, that's what it responds to normal questions. That's the whole crux of it. You just don't want to kill the core model capabilities and make it only function calling.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that it It works well for normal conversations and calls the function whenever it is really needed. So if I'm learning about the history of NVIDIA, it should not bring in like say the NVIDIA stock price or like as well. It could embed, but then that is not the thing that I'm looking at, right? It's just doing how do you chat with ChatGPT or something like that. So taking a good chat-based model or something like that. So I kind of like made a small demo like or try to learn something on the same thing. Say not the sample app, but then this is something that I built using the SERP API, which is like a search engine API. And say if I want to ask like say watch comedy movies, horror movies, how does it work? And like if I listed a bunch of functions, and if like APIs that are like out in the wild, and it did work. So I think trying out with multiple APIs. So trying out with Jira or something, it would create a Jira ticket if I want. So things like that, right? So seems like much better in that manner. Yeah. But yeah, I think like the pizzas are here, and then maybe we could talk more. I'm happy to answer more questions as well.
All right.
So,